Hi, Mark Kennedy. Talk to you about my thoughts on inflation. Inflation, it's like a cancer. You go to the grocery store and for one reason or another, prices just keep on going up persistently. That's a really bad kind of inflation because it hurts the people that can't handle it the most. You think Bill Gates cares what the price of eggs is? Probably not, because it's such a small percentage of his portfolio. But somebody that's living paycheck to paycheck, when eggs double and triple in price, it's hard on them. It's something that the world has lived with for a really, really long time. Even in periods of low inflation, there's always a 1 or 2 or 3% inflation that occurs on a natural basis. I mean, I started working in 1979. The average job offer that I got was $20,000. Today, most kids that are coming out of college are making $40,000. It's doubled since I've started. That inflation is just consistent with history. And like the government that borrows money, pays it back 30 years later for half the value. It's kind of the same thing if you borrow money to buy a house 30 years from now when that loan comes due. I know you're going to be paying it off over time, but it's going to be in today's dollars that will be depreciated by about 2 to 3% every year for the next 30 years. It actually works in your favor. Besides from that, the mortgage situation, it also helps companies. Believe it or not, back when the last tariffs were put in place, there wasn't any additional price increases. It was all absorbed by corporations. Or actually, it wasn't even absorbed by corporations. It was absorbed by you and me, because almost all of the price increases that came about as a result of the tariffs are transferred to the consumer. As much as they're going to say that that didn't happen and this didn't happen, if it didn't happen, where was the inflation from the last bout of increases? Didn't occur. Inflation never got over 2%. And this is a very psychological thing, and this is my view as well, but if I'm making widgets and it's all over the press that there's inflation, tariffs and inflation, and there's a lot of confusion and a lot of uncertainty as to what those numbers really are, hell, I'm going to raise the prices of those widgets as much as I can because you're expecting it. Everyone has already told you that it's going to happen. And I bought a pair of jeans, ones I'm wearing today, for $17 on Amazon. If they double in price, $34, it's still going to be a pretty cheap price for a pair of jeans. I don't know. But, inflation is going to affect us all, but it's just something that we have to learn to live with. And that there are positive consequences, like earnings for U.S. corporations. The stock market will be very happy with that. The fact that you can pay down debt 30 years from now at a much lower rate than you're paying right now. That's a benefit of inflation. We just won't want it to get too persistent and too high. All right, so to give you an example of how anyone can learn to cope with higher inflation. I was in Brazil in the early 90s. Inflation was 1,000% a year. It was crazy. The rich people got more than 1,000% return on their money because they had money. The poor people, not so much. If you made 1,000 reais, which was the currency at that time, and you got paid weekly, as soon as you got paid, you went out and you spent that money. I know that sounds a little weird. Why would they do that? Because by Friday of the next week, that money's worthless, totally worthless. I was in a grocery store one time and they didn't have prices marked on the shelves like we do. Gal comes over the loudspeaker and says, "We have now increased prices by 20%. That's what people that live in high inflationary have to learn to deal with. They didn't have credit cards because by the time you put something on a credit card, you paid it off. You didn't pay anything for it. So everything was in cash. It was either cash currency or you carried around your checkbook. And that's how people survive with rampant inflation. They tied the real to the dollar and it stabilized them and their life changed considerably. They got mortgages, they got loans, they got credit cards. It benefited their economy greatly. But that's not our situation. Our situation is we have to deal with a little bit of extra inflation for a short period of time, and then it should benefit us in the long run by higher stock prices, more production here in the United States, bigger GDP, more opportunity for profit. Those are my view on inflation. Take them with a grain of salt. Those are my views, but I appreciate you hearing my point of view.